All right, guys. Sorry about the delay. I somehow my computer settings have gone from Wi-Fi to Ethernet and yeah, stuffed up. So, but anyway, we'll get on with it. Welcome to today's session. So I think we're going to have fun today because there's some really good news coming out and things we're actually seeing. Wait there, guys. Hold on, wait there. Let me just get rid of that. All right, guys. Sorry about. There we go. All right, sorry. Had it playing in the background. I'm learning as we go this live stuff, so good fun. But no, look, yeah, I mean, there's lots and lots of stuff coming out, both from a political, both from a the virus side, and so I want to bring in both of those. And what I really want to do is I want to sort of relate it to how it relates to you as a property investor. But what I want to do each day is I want to go through what the latest virus side of it is and how they're coping with that and how that's coping. I've got my theories around doing it. I'm reading lots. I've actually got every guy actually that I know quite well who's in the financial markets, who's in the US and in Asia and that sort of stuff. And I'm really starting to get a few people speaking to, and it's quite interesting because as you start to hear different aspects from property investors, and from people who are in the markets, there's a lot of misadvice. There's a lot of misunderstandings. There's a lot of things that you think, wow, that doesn't relate to me, but yes, I can see how that relates to you. And there's a lot of fear right now, which you would expect because the world is just about shut down. So look, hopefully what I'm going to do is actually bring a more positive angle to everything, because I think you've got to, if you want to get through this, you can be really negative about it. But you've got to, if you really want to do it right, you need to find the opportunity. You need to spot the opportunity, go after that opportunity. And if you're a business owner, that may mean you have to pivot. That may mean you have to do things differently. That may mean that you have to, on a daily basis, change what you're doing. Whether you're a business owner or an employee or whatever, I've got every morning at 9:30 a.m. I give this presentation, in fact, to my staff. And every afternoon at 5:30 they email me, because most of them are working at home now or in various places. We're already quite spread out, and we're already used to, we've been set up for a few years from the work for home side of things. So actually that hasn't affected us too much. But we're even dealing with things like loneliness in the workplace, because at the end of the day, or at home, if you're at home, what do you do with your time? Obviously you should be devoting it to work. But if you're not used to doing that, you're not used to having silence and no interaction. So we're doing things like on Friday, we're doing a virtual lunch and a quiz, just as a bit of fun. But, incorporating things like that into your life. And what I'm doing is encouraging people to have meetings, video meetings between two people, where they just actually leave it open. They can just chat to each other as they're doing stuff, okay? And sort of recreate that physical environment in the virtual. So anyway, that's the sort of my take on it. Now, before we get into this, I just want to show you this. So this is, wait there, let me get rid of that. Cool, yeah. So this is 18th of March 2020. Welcome, guys. It's Brett Alegre-Wood. But what I was going to say too, I'm doing these every day. So if you want them every day, make sure you subscribe and comment, add any questions you've got. I really love getting questions, and I'll answer those either in this session or in separate videos that I'm doing. So I'm doing quite a few videos on various things at the moment. It's the best thing I can do, because really, I'm in Singapore right now and everything's locked down, so I'm not in the UK. And really, the best I can do is hope to create a positive environment for my staff and for my investors and for our tenants and our landlords and for you that's listening. So, if I can help out in any way, fantastic. But what I was going to say too, I put this link here, worldometers.info/coronavirus. That is the website that I use to get all my data, and I find it's got a really good summary of things. So, there's thousands out there. What I'm finding with the news agencies is they change every day depending on the articles they write. Whereas it's the same format every day. And so you can see over time how things are going. And I think that's important. So let's get started anyway. So look, what I've been saying, and I've changed this slightly just from feedback from you guys. So what I said yesterday was, I reckon it's 30 days on the curve, because basically based on the Chinese model, from there to there was about 30 days. From really lockdown, hard lockdown, to start releasing and full release was about 30 days. So we've probably got about the next 30 days, or what I've said now, because yesterday was day 30, 29 days left. And I'm going to count down the clock each day. And so that'll remind me to do a video every day as well. But look, I think that will sort out the infection. It won't get rid of the infection. The infection is going to be here for a long time. But I think that'll sort out the majority of the bell curve that we're talking about. 89 days, is likely the impact on the lifestyle impact, where our lifestyles will change dramatically. 30 days will be, I think, will be our jobs and all that, but then we'll adjust to that, and then it'll be the next two months where things are going to be a bit sort of weird, and people will not be touching each other and all that sort of stuff. But what I am saying this is, and I said this right from the start, that I think it's going to be a V-shaped recovery, and it's going to be quite deep, the drop, but we'll come back relatively quickly. And I think that'll be the case with the incentive packages that most of the governments are looking to put in place. But what I've said there is hashtag 2020 is cancelled, because I think whatever you were planning this year, you need to go back and considerably downscale your ideas. Now that may be, most motivational people will tell you, no, take advantage of the opportunity. But I think the reality is there's blood in the streets, and the unfortunate, and that's probably the wrong analogy to use, to be fair. But what I mean is that the markets really are suffering massively, and people don't know what to do, and traders don't know what to do, and you've got traders in America aren't allowed to trade unless they're in the office, so they can't trade from home, but they're being forced to work from home, or they're getting sick. So the reality is they can't trade positions, which means all their clients are in free fall and losing money, all these sort of things. So these are the stories that I'm starting to hear coming out of various places, and it's quite interesting, that sort of stuff. But look, we're 29 days, I think, before we get back into some level of normality and the lockdown starts to get released, and that's based on the China model. Now, if you have a look too, I just want to spend today and really give you some perspective. Okay, so that is 142 is right now, coronavirus is 142 deaths per day. Okay, 142. Now, if you look at domestic violence, 137. SIDS, killed by dogs, 96. Influenza, cancer, 26,000. So in the grand scheme of things, this is not a world-changing event where it's going to, the virus is going to kill off half the world's population. It's not a 21 days later or a whatever type scenario, I don't think. Okay, certainly it's not getting there, and actually there's a number of things happening now which are really positive. So, and I think really looking to the China model, and I'm calling it the China model because I think what they did is pretty much where everyone is going to. Now, I know I said there was a social experiment going on in the UK, which was basically they believed that, let's A, B, C, and C get them, and have it, them get it, and then develop the herd immunity. But that seems to have gone out the wall, gone out the door a bit. I think as they've realised that perhaps they don't want so many people in that situation. So let's lock them away and let's try and flatten that curve, as we were saying. So I just wanted to give you some perspective, okay? So if we have a look here, day 42 since the outbreak, okay? If we look at SARS, swine flu, Ebola, MERS, and the Spanish flu, in a second we'll look, and coronavirus, okay? So this is after 42 days since the outbreak. Now, there's some speculation as the outbreak may have started in November, December, January or February, depending on who you believe in China, and all that sort of stuff. But as you'll see, coronavirus in 42 days is way up there, okay? It's way up there. This is after 42 days, all right, since the initial outbreak. Then if we go to the next one, after 228 days, now obviously coronavirus hasn't been around that long, so it's sitting back there down here with the, that blue color is, but swine flu actually, 91,000 deaths, 18 million people infected, Ebola, 5,000 deaths through 13,000. So you can see where they sort of relate. And, so far, the coronavirus doesn't look that bad. If we look after 600 days, the Spanish flu, okay, took over. I mean, it was 500 million people they thought got it, and about 50 million, it was 50 to 100 million died from it. So, the reality is that is by far the worst. And I don't think anyone's predicting that right now, and certainly that's not what it's looking like. Swine flu, that was, the reality was, it's interesting. It says Mexico everywhere, but actually it started in America, believe it or not, and they exported through the pigs to Mexico, and then Mexico suffered most of those losses. And that was in 2009. If you remember what happened when this outbreak happened, they killed off lots and lots and lots of pigs. I know in the UK, I was in the UK at the time, and they killed off all the pigs, and that stopped the spread of the virus. Obviously, the coronavirus has got out. Coronavirus, as of today, is about, it's a little bit less than 200,000 cases, or 8,000 deaths, okay? So in the grand scheme of things, it hasn't been that bad so far, but obviously with the rates doubling every 5 or 10 days or 2 to 3 days, depending on who you believe and which country you're in and that sort of thing, it could get a lot worse, because this is after 600 days, this sort of thing, this graph. Look, some other stuff you probably don't realise is going on is, there's a trade war going on between China and the US. Trump basically kicked out 60 Chinese journalists last week and basically said, go away, you can't come in. We're restricting it to a maximum 100 journalists in the US. So China promptly this week kicked out all 5 US media outlets. It's just, in some ways, it's just stupidity, this whole game of, tit for tat and that. He seems like a child, a man baby. Not seems like it, I think he actually is. But so that's one thing that's going on that's not actually really getting out there in the news too much. But seasonal, one of the things with the seasonal is a lot of people are saying, it's going to die down in the summer. There's no guarantees that the current strain of coronavirus, that is going to be the case. But the last 4 outbreaks, were all seasonal coronaviruses. So there is a chance that that is the case. All right. Now, interesting, what most people don't know is that we've already had a mutation. So the Chinese version, which is the S strain, is not necessarily the European version, which is the L strain. But it's too soon to say whether one's more dangerous than the other. They're 99.993% alike. Apparently there's 2 strands of the RNA that are actually slightly mutated. So who knows if it's effective, ineffective? What they don't know. Obviously people are saying this one's more dangerous because the death rates are higher, but that isn't necessarily the case, because they're not looking at the same timelines and things like that. So we don't know yet. It may well be that's the case. It may well be that the S strain is in the UK and the L strain is in Spain, and that, who knows? Right now there doesn't seem to be a lot of data, because what the newspapers are printing is all the sensational stuff. The good news is coronavirus in Australia, basically Queen University in Queensland have come up with effectively a HIV drug and a malaria drug, and they're using those to effectively cure. In other words, if you've got coronavirus, you pop a couple of pills and it goes away. It kills it off. So that's good news for everyone who's in that position. So obviously, let's see if that is the case. And the good thing about this is that if that's the case, it's not a vaccine. It's not something you can take to stop getting it. It's once you get it to treat it. So it's a cure as opposed to a precursor. But the important thing here is, because these are existing drugs that are available in Singapore and various places, Singapore, US, Australia, and a number of other places, it means that the stage 1 and 2 drug testing doesn't need it, and we can go straight to stage 3. So that's quite good, which means we can get it to market quicker. Now, obviously, that's still going to take some time, because what they've got to do is do drug testing, get it in there, and actually see what quantities, and make sure this quantity with that quantity is okay and it's not harmful to life. But it's a lot quicker to do that. So that's good news. So it's not all bad news. The other side is, and I talk about the China model, because as much as everyone likes to poke fun and have a go at China, actually, to be fair, if you take away the first month if they had got on top of it, then that we may have contained it. So there's no doubt about that. It may have contained a bit better. But anyway, neither here nor there. The reality is, what they did is they've got the bell curve, and now they're at the back end of it. So, interestingly, Beijing now are doing all sorts of gestures of support around the world. So they sent 31 tons of medical equipment, medical supplies to Italy, with doctors, while people were complaining the EU was doing nothing. So they're now going out and helping everyone else, because obviously their doctors know how to treat it. They've got huge experience in treating it. Interesting, one of my mates who works in Shanghai, he's actually currently caught up in Singapore, but one of his comments when I asked him was, I said, how's Shanghai, what's it like? And he said, not 100%, but getting close, traffic jams again, which is a good sign. It's the first time in my life where someone has said the traffic jam is a good sign. People still cautious, but 80 to 90% normal, albeit still need to wear masks when you're outside. So, we're now talking about 2 months since the first real sort of shutdown or notice of, this is going on, because it was the start of, it started January when started things. It was a mysterious illness then. There was 50 cases. So we're 2 months on from that, and they're now through. They're over the top of that and down the bottom, and there's very few cases being added. Interestingly, they've actually been testing those malaria and HIV drugs in China on people, so you may find that we get to something really quickly. But look, guys, so that's good news. And China really, as much as we may like to say it's an authoritarian, all that sort of stuff, they did get on top of it once they did admit it really quickly, and it seems to have worked. And I think that's why most countries are doing the same. Now, good things about UK, we've got some finance packages coming out now. Landlords have been giving a 3-month mortgage relief, but that's only 60% of where the rent goes. There's still all the costs and that associated with it. And the reality is, if you're not yet, jump on, call your lender and get that 3-month payment holiday if you want it. Because I would say don't leave it for too long, because you're just going to be waiting longer and longer and longer. Okay. There's the 330 billion package, but the details need to be forthcoming, so we're not really sure about that. But also in the US, there's an 850 billion package which is going through Congress right now. So the likelihood is that will or may get approved, which will be good. But also the US is talking about giving cash out, $1,000 check. I think that's a great idea. I mean, one of these problems is they're very quick to bail out the banks. They're very quick to bail out all these financial institutions and the money markets. But what they aren't really supporting is the individuals. And I think that needs to start coming, for me, first, before we start bailing out the banks who are used to making these mistakes. And it's not just the banks this time, it's the airlines or whoever it is. They've had plenty of time to get these sort of things sorted. And they've got plenty of liquidity which they've been building up. So to just throw money at the money market, I think we need to. I think we need to stabilize that. But we also should be looking at the individuals, because the psychological cost and all that cost really does weigh heavily. But and it might be that rather than saying $1,000 one off, it might be $1,000 a month until we get over that. So it may be 2 or 3 months at $1,000 a month to every citizen. If we do that, that's likely to shore up, and then we'll see that we'll rebound really quickly. As opposed to the risk really is that if we don't shore up the financial markets, if we don't shore up the individuals, there's going to be bankruptcies, there's going to be delinquencies, there's going to be all that sort of stuff, and then we just hightail it down into a recession, potential depression. I mean, when there's documentaries about the Great Depression, and you listen to the language they use there, and it's the same language that they're using in the financial markets now. So, we're not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination right now. So, yeah, guys, questions. If you've got any questions, pump them through, and either if you maybe not now, then by all means go and get on them later. But yeah, guys, look, I want to send those in, and answer as many questions as I can over the next couple of weeks. What is it, 30 days or something? But yeah, I'm really keen, because I'm spending devoting a lot of time just to research what's going on, and hopefully I don't want to be too optimistic, but I also don't want to be one of these guys, like Trump said, 8 weeks of lockdown. I don't think it's going to be 8 weeks of lockdown. I do not think that. If you look at China and what they did, there's no reason that we can't do the same, And if we give it enough time, the medical treatment gets better. The response and the medical services are more. We've had a bit of time to get them in order. So actually, we should be able to get on top of this. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying we're going to decrease the 1 month. I think we're still going to have that. But you know what? We may well do it. But I think we're probably the next month. And as I say, 29 days, winding down. So we'll see how that goes. But all right, guys, any questions you've got, you can pump into the thing. But otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. And I'm always there. If you've got any questions, you can email me to webinars@gladfish.com, and I'll either record a separate video for it, or on any of these videos, you can add comments afterwards. Happy to answer them and deal with them as we go. But all right, guys, well, that's it for me tonight. Have a great day, and stay safe, stay healthy, and look after your family and friends, and hopefully if you're working from home, just be aware that it's a different model. I mean, I work from home most of the time, unless I'm traveling to Aussie or UK where I have offices. So I'm used to it, but it can be a very lonely thing living at home, especially if you haven't got kids and things like that. If you have, interesting actually, what I'll say is if you have got kids, Arlene, my wife, is doing a video which I'll give you the link to tomorrow. She's doing that, which has a whole heap of resources for our kids' activities and how to keep them entertained. So either you can focus on work, or so that they don't go crazy and send you crazy, because this is a real thing now if they're home from work and home from school. And I mean, they're just free resources that are freely available that Arlene's compiled. So we've got that coming. But look, besides that, from that side, I mean, talking about our own individual business, we made a sale yesterday. A sale yesterday. We had 4 appointments booked yesterday, which, considering what's been going on, actually, it's pretty good. And funnily enough, we made a sale to a doctor, which, he's busy, but he's also quite what we'll say, positive about what's happening, and that it's not going to be a long-term thing, that it's going to be a more shorter term, and they will get it under control. So that's quite good. But yeah, guys, have a great day. Live with passion. Stay safe. All right. See you. Bye.